Hello and welcome everybody to this week's edition of the Travel Coffee Break. I'm Alistair Mackenzie and I'll get rid of the screen there and then you can see me in all my glory. And I've got a fantastic panel in today to talk about walking holidays. They are all bar one from walking holiday operators, specialist operators, so they should really know their stuff, and we'll flagellate them, of course, if they don't. Got any questions? Then use the Q&A app, which is top right of your screen, and you can write them in there, and we will answer them. So let me get on with it straight away and introduce everybody in the panel, and then we'll set off. I probably won't do this in the right order because the order that they appear to me is different to the way they look to them. So I'm going to say that from my left at least, I've got David Martin, who's from Headwater Holidays. Headwater have been around for yonks and yonks and yonks, David, and are definitely one of the specialists in this territory. I've got Jack Montgomery, who is our oddball. He's a walker.
Thanks. Thanks for that, Arthur.
As opposed to a walking tour operator, although there's an element of crossover, and we'll come to that shortly. I've got Amanda Green from Langdale Walking Holidays. The clue is in the name there. Total specialists in walking holidays. I've got where are we next? Neil Lapping from Max Adventure. Another walking and cycling. In fact, I think nearly all of you are walking and cycling, except for possibly Ramblers and Langdale, off the top of my head or from my notes here. We've got next Michael Hatch from Ramblers Worldwide. Probably need hardly any introduction at all. And then finally we've got Vladdy Harris from HF Holidays, another long-standing specialist tour operator in this area. And I should say, by the way, if anybody's seen the post on the Travel Coffee Break blog, which is travelcoffeebreak.com, for this particular event. The photograph at the top that I used for it came off Creative Commons, and actually it turned out, when I looked at the tags at the bottom, to have been somebody, Vladdy, on one of your tours in France, or a group of people looking at a map. So yeah, that's it was a
wonderful picture.
So I'm glad you're here. Okay, let's get underway. I'm going to start with Michael Hatch, because Michael, you're really actually not quite you. Your colleague Tony Maniscalco, who I've known for years and years, and I were at an event, a trade event last week, and we were talking about what's happening in our worlds, and he was talking about Adagio, which is a new brand for Ramblers, and I was aware of Adagio, but what Tony was saying, and really this is what triggered this whole hangout, he was saying that it's worked marvelously well for us, because up until now we've been Ramblers Worldwide, which people associate automatically with the Ramblers Association, which is of course sort of a pioneering, interests group, if you like, and that was kind of a problem for you. Is that broadly it? And Adagio separates it out.
Well, there's a lot of questions there. I mean, historically, we were set up by the Ramblers, as they're now known, in 1946, to provide holidays abroad for their members. The necessity to be a member of the RAC a long time ago. We're still certainly connected quite intimately to the Ramblers. We're a non-profit making organisation, and we give quite a lot of our money to them. There is, I suppose, an image with rambling. I mean, looking from the inside out, it's difficult to see it, but to some extent, if you're a rambler, there is a certain expectation what clothes you'll be wearing, of a sort of age, basic demographic. Again, from the inside looking out, it's difficult to match the two up because we see ourselves very differently. But yes, there's a certain image, and so what we wanted to do with Adagio was to really make it clear that if you're going rambling, you can have rambling as part of a holiday. Walking is an important part of a holiday, but you can mix it with cultural things. You can stay in hotels, you can eat good food. So, I mean, none of our holidays stays in Mountain Bothids and spends 3 weeks trudging through the mud. But Adagio is really the other end of that sort of stylish.
Yes, you put it rather better than I did. I think the assumption has been from many people that because of the association by name, that the people who go on Ramblers worldwide holidays must be terribly keen and fervent and up with their backpacks and up those hills, that kind of thing. And it's not that way at all.
We like any tour operator, any walking tour operator, we operate a large range of holidays. We do sightseeing holidays with a strong walking element in Rome and Istanbul at one end, and we do mountain hutting holidays where you're scrambling over rocks, you're using via ferrata, staying in mountain huts. From the very easy to the very hard. The majority of our clients want a sort of an easy to moderate style adventure. Really, that's what they want. They don't tend to want the really hard stuff. When we go into the really hard stuff, the numbers drop off. We'd be very happy to provide more of those holidays, but the majority of people are not interested in that end of the holiday. So, although they're keen on having a good time, they're not necessarily keen on climbing more than 1,000 meters. In fact, they're probably climbing back 100 meters or so.
And with Adagio, as you say, that the emphasis is on both walking and mixing it with other cultural activities. For example, I don't know, going to vineyards or looking at architecture or that kind of thing.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we have a variety of holidays. Some would concentrate, say, on palaces and gardens. Some of them do short coastal walks, for example, in the Algarve. We found a very, very popular area is offering spectacular mountain views for people who aren't capable of doing spectacular mountain walking. So they're not capable of the really hard stuff. They want to walk on the high level paths with views of the Dolomites or the Jungfrau or the Eiger. But those high level paths need to be easy high level paths. It's an extremely popular seller for us.
Yeah. Is there? I'm just wondering now that Adagio has been. How long has it been running now? Adagio as a brand.
Third season.
So, are you now beginning to get a certain amount of crossover? In other words, are you now getting people who are attracted by Adagio-style holidays, and through that experience recognise that, oh, actually, there's quite a few holidays. I didn't realise that Ramblers also do some nice, quite gentle holidays, easygoing, easy-level holidays. You're getting crossover from Adagio into Ramblers?
To be honest, I'm not sure. I think it's mainly working the other way, that people are crossing over from Ramblers into Adagio, as well as bringing in a lot of new people who hadn't really thought of going on a holiday with a walking element in it.
All right. Let me bring in, I think probably David from Headwater, because you guys are in the on a similar kind of scale, global. Likewise, Vladdy, you might want to chip in as well. But let's start with David, because I'm just wondering if any of this rings a bell with you. The people being not sure about whether they're looking at a holiday which is going to be hard work and really wanting something that's rather gentle, or do you separate those kind of styles out?
Well, all our holidays are, we like to think of them as relaxed walking holidays, and we like to try and sell the holiday more on the experience, whether that be tasting good food, drinking good wine, culture, history, those kind of elements, and we just see the walking, or in the case of our cycling holidays, the cycling is just the best way to experience that. You can't get into the culture of a country if you're whizzing along on a coach and just getting dropped off every half an hour for a 5-minute wander round. You have to really slow down and meet the people whilst you're out in the open air. We do have a range of holidays from really quite gentle up to what we would describe as more kind of hardy hiking, places like the French Pyrenees and the Alps. But the majority of our tours they're very laid back, they're very relaxed. You're walking possibly 10, 12 miles a day over the course of the whole day. Lots of places to stop off, you know, enjoy a glass of wine in the afternoon, cup of coffee, that kind of thing, and then end up at a nice, you know, 3-4 star hotel in the evening with a pool and a nice meal.
And we're talking about globally, I mean, because you're mostly concentrated in Europe. I know you guys go to South America and all over the place.
Yes. It is mainly Europe, and that's where the majority of the self-guided walks are. We also offer some guided walking throughout Europe and further afield, so places like the Caribbean, North Africa, you know, that kind of thing. But the bread and butter is the self-guided walking in the European destinations, yeah.
And Vladdy, the same for you guys, isn't it? I mean, you're pretty much global, but describe your program.
A majority of our walking holidays are guided. Our guests go on group walking holidays where they socialize and enjoy each other's company. And we have 19 country house hotels in the UK. We go to Europe and worldwide, and there's always a selection of at least 2 walks each day that our guests can do. So it doesn't matter whether you are one of those harder traditional walkers or whether you like sightseeing. You have a choice each day, or you can choose to just go sightseeing independently, but you are in the company of other walkers and you get the time to enjoy them as well in the evenings. Having a nice time together.
And your destinations are principally Europe?
We own our own country houses in the UK, so that's where we bring more of our walkers. We like to keep them at home and explore the Lake District, the Scottish mountains, all of that. And we also see a trend of younger, more adventurous people using our country houses, staying and doing other outdoor pursuits rather than just the traditional walkers.
When you say younger, how much younger?
Well, we are looking at people in their late 40s, early 50s, and families. A lot of families like to go out and stay independently in our country houses and not only walk, but also do the cycling, do the kayaking on the lakes, you know, explore and do other activities in the local area.
Okay. Neil, they're all over your territory here, aren't they? This UK and Amanda as well, especially Amanda. The UK is very much your territory. Neil, describe what it is that you guys do.
Yeah, we're very much the same kind of lines, but a self-guided walking holiday specialist. We actually started off just offering trips in the UK, initially Scotland in 2003. And we found a huge, demand for people looking for that service of, especially on the classic trails in the UK. So looking at, things like the West Highland Way, the long distance trails, and that's really our strongest area of business is concentrating on classic treks. So whether that being in the UK, which still accounts for a large proportion of our business, or in Europe, looking at things like the Tour de Mont Blanc, the Camino de Santiago. That traditional point-to-point is, really important for us. It's
You've got a specialist section on your site from memory for the Camino de Santiago, haven't you?
Yeah, it's certainly been one of our most popular trips. We first got involved with it about 4 or 5 years ago. Through a personal. My mom actually walked it and was blown away by it. And, that kind of raised it to my attention. Since then, we were lucky enough that there were several there was a Hollywood movie, there have been several books, and it's really something that's captured the imagination in terms of people looking for a transformative experience. So while a lot of people will merely do the last week, we have a significant number of clients doing the full 40-day trip. Probably at least 25% of the clients are doing the full 40-day trip. So a real demand for people now looking for these things, these get away from it and spiritual experience, which are regardless of whether they're religious or not.
Very interesting. Because when I saw it on the site, I was thinking, actually, it's funny because I've noticed a distinct increase in the number of people who've been talking about it, particularly in the blogger circuit. Just in the last year, there've been several people who said, "Oh, I'm planning on doing the Camino. Has anybody been there?" And blah blah.
And a lot of tour operators offer just
a resurgence of interest. Yeah. Vladdy, you guys doing it? In fact, are all of you offering Camino product? Any of you?
We do at Ramblers.
Yeah. Yes, we do as well.
Yeah. Sorry, Vladdy.
It's not the whole 40-day tour. We wouldn't be able to do that. We do a selection, the highlights towards the end, where you actually come into Camino.
Okay. I should just say, for the benefit of anybody who doesn't know what the hell we're talking about, the Camino Trail is a well-known pilgrimage, in effect, through France. I think originates in Tours, doesn't it? Theoretically, but is around
there are a number of routes starting from throughout Europe. Obviously a medieval route to the Cathedral de the Cathedral in Santiago de Compostela, which has allegedly got the remains of St. James. Yeah. And so the medieval, so there are routes literally from throughout Germany, France, Switzerland, Spain. There's an English way which just takes the boat. So there are a large number of routes, and it's really seen a resurgence in the last kind of 10 to 15 years. And
you're absolutely right. It's just like the Silk Route in that respect. There are multiple variations of it. But once you get down to the border, the French-Spanish border, it then runs along the coast, and it's pretty much one path at that point, marked by the scallop shells. And the idea is you walk all the way to the end to Santiago, which is right on the tip of Spain, and that's the end of it. And it is definitely having a resurgence. It's interesting that so many people are so keen now. There was a marvelous book. It was I can see their faces. They rode the Compostela Way and wrote a book about it in probably about 1970 thereabouts. The name is going to come to me at any moment. He's hoping it will. And basically they were riding it on horseback, and it's a great tale because they were finding farms along the way where they could tie their horses up and stay overnight and all that kind of thing. It will come to me before the show's out. Okay, Amanda, I haven't forgotten you. Tell us about Langdale, because I think in a way you're kind of you are very much UK based, aren't you?
We're not actually.
We're right. Okay.
We very much the holidays that we run are worldwide. I know the name suggests that we're UK based. We were actually started in the Langdale Valley, hence the name Langdale Walking Holidays, and we are based in the Lake District. But the holidays that we run are all around the world. I mean, we've got a couple in the UK. We've got the Isles of Scilly and Edinburgh Tattoo, kind of mini walking weekend this year. But then we've also got Colombia and Poland. The guys are out in Utah at the moment. They're going to fly back tomorrow. They've had a fantastic time. So, yeah, very much worldwide holidays.
Are they all escorted?
All escorted. All the holidays are escorted. We have guides that specialise in the local flora and fauna, the history of the area. It's very much part of the holidays, learning about the places that you're going to and immersing yourself in the local culture. And not some of the holidays are harder, but the more popular ones are the moderate graded trips. That's what people seem to enjoy, and we try to stay in the better accommodation, the nicest that we can find in the area, with a little bit of personality. Obviously, if we go off the beaten track, we're going to be staying in homestays and things like that. But mainly, we look for the higher end accommodation because that's what our customers like, and dinner parties in the evening, and it's very sociable. It's very friendly, relaxed, and fun.
Sounds brilliant. So who exactly are your customers? I mean, if you try to describe a typical customer.
So a typical customer would be late 50s onwards, probably more settling around the 65 age range, retired, getting ready to retire, have that little bit of extra money. They want to go off an adventure. Maybe they didn't get a chance to do it when they finished uni when they were younger because it wasn't the done thing then. But you know, now they want to, and they haven't got the time to organise it themselves, so they trust us to do it, which is quite an honour.
Excellent. That is an increasingly important market. Not least, I was thinking, as you said, the harking back to university times and travelling. There's a very good friend of Jack and mine, Kash Bhattacharya, is a blogger who specialises in backpacking, I suppose. Budget holidays is his blog. But what he did was identify this whole new tranche of hostels around the world that were suddenly upgrading themselves. So there were, instead of dormitories, there were ensuite twin rooms, and that kind of thing. And it was becoming much more luxurious to meet exactly the market that you're talking about. Yeah. I'm curious to know, guys, are you finding the same thing? That there's a generation of travellers now who are looking for something, back to nature, rough and ready, the way they remember it, with their backpacks, but with some comfort built in.
I think over the years we've definitely seen a move up market in terms of the accommodation that people want. Back in the early days of Headwater, it was tiny little chambre-d'hôtes and places where the people running the hotel were certainly characters, shall we say. You were never quite sure what you'd end up with when you turned up that day. But as time has gone on, people now they want to get out, they want to enjoy the outdoors, but they want a bit of luxury at the end of the day. They want to feel like they've gone on a nice holiday and relaxed at the end of it.
Okay, I'm going to turn to Jack now. I've left you out until this moment, Jack. Jack is, as I say, a writer and a very enthusiastic walker. He lives out in Tenerife. And Jack, just describe exactly what you do.
Sorry, Alistair, I lost you.
Oh, right. Okay. I was asking you to describe all the things that you do.
Well, I'm a writer, first and foremost, travel writer, but specialising in the Canary Islands, predominantly hiking and dining, but also in the islands that exist beyond the resorts. And from that led to working and expanding to Europe. So now I have a website which is hiking and dining around Europe as well. But apart from just writing about it, for myself, I was unhappy with some of the directions that the first guidebooks that I experienced when I got to Tenerife. So we started to write our own, and that led to us working with other specialist UK companies like InTravel, which then developed, and now we also, as well as do writing and promotion and travel writing and travel blogging, we also put together travel routes, walking routes around the Canary Islands and parts of Europe for the likes of InTravel. So I tend to walk as a consumer, as a writer, and also as somebody looking at it from a business point of view as well.
InTravel, who couldn't join us and wanted to, but no doubt will be able to in future weeks, that are, I think, in my mind at least, their sort of claim to fame is the in-to-in walking and cycling trips. So very much at the kind of that gentle end of the market. But you're quite hardcore, aren't you? I mean, you've just come back from Cape Verde.
Cape Verde.
Yeah, walking across Cape Verde. I mean, that was interesting because everybody's view of Cape Verde, for example, is Sal. It's a beach resort. There's nothing there, but of course there's 9 islands, and like the Canary Islands, they're very different. So if you go, you get some excellent hiking, and I mean the routes there were probably less than 10 kilometres, but God, they were hard, and with the heat and with the lack of shade. And it's one of these things that makes a difference. I'm sure everybody knows that. You can talk about ideal distances being, 12, 13 kilometres. But you go to an island with a lot of ascents, a lot of valleys, a lot of ravines, then you're talking different lengths. So it's quite interesting when you walk in different places. For example, 20 kilometres in France is easy compared to 12 kilometres in La Gomera here. So yeah, I mean, I like challenging walking, and I think a lot of people that we've found also like challenging, but not seriously challenging, depending on ages, depending on abilities. I mean,
the Canary Islands are your patch particularly, and you're living on Tenerife. You have, in fact, I think, just written another guidebook to Tenerife, which you haven't actually got the proof. I saw you on Facebook yesterday saying the proof copy of the new guidebook hasn't turned up because the post lost it or something. But Tenerife itself is a fantastic place for walking, not least because of the scale of the island. In fact, it's used as a training ground, isn't it, for cyclists?
Absolutely, yeah. Yes, absolutely. I mean, the thing with the Canary Islands is they're all different. People tend to say, like, Amera is the island for hiking, and Tenerife's island for the sun, so to speak. But of course, it's a big island in Canary Island terms, and it probably offers the most diverse walking. But each of the islands offer something different when it comes to walking, and they tend to get overlooked a lot in terms of its hiking destinations. And yeah, I find that they offer quite challenging and diverse walking, as good as walking as I find in other parts of Europe, and more challenging in many ways.
Okay. Mike, sorry, Jack, your mic is breaking up a bit, so it's difficult to hear you in patches. I'm going to kind of throw it open between us. There's a couple of thoughts I had. We were talking just now about guided tours and self-guided tours, and I'm wondering if anybody's got any views on I imagine there has been a growth in people self-guiding more because they can, in a sense, feel more confident about it now with today's technology, where before they might have thought, oh, I'm not sure if I want to spend all my time getting lost. Is that fair? Is that what's happening?
I think to some extent you've got to decide why you're going to go on holiday. Some people go on holiday for the company. Some people simply don't have time to organise a holiday. Also, with a tour operator, you're often going to get a particularly good deal. There are economies of scale if 20 people are using transport as opposed to just a couple hiring a taxi. It depends what people want out of a holiday. Whether you go with a group, I mean, we're finding certainly that more people are interested in our product that is dealing with more in-travel style or headwater style of holiday. But the bulk of ours are still group holidays. There still are a lot of people, different reasons, various reasons, want to travel as part of a group.
Sorry, David, you go ahead.
No, go.
Obviously we're a self-guided specialist, all we do, and we've seen enormous growth over the last few years. We're growing at 30% plus a year on fairly significant numbers, and I think there are a couple of things driving it. I think with self-guided, it is a change in attitude of 20 or 30 years ago when walking on the continent first opened up. I think you did need that extra reassurance. As the next generation are coming through of today's retirees, they're much more competent. They've often travelled with Ramblers or HF in the past, and they're used to walking in Europe, and they're quite happy to kind of take that route finding on their own. So there's one kind of confidence and a perception. I think the second thing that's really changed the attitude is that I think people very much are interested in tailoring and having an experience which is tailored to their needs. And obviously, self-guided really lends itself to that. In that, if they can tailor it, they can add it, they can do shorter or longer days, which you can be constrained a bit. I know HF does it very well in having 2 different walks each day, but that's certainly one of the big drivers we're seeing, and also just that flexibility around start dates, itineraries, levels of accommodation, and that's I think one of the reasons we're seeing big growth from that market. But again, I'd agree that there is still a massive demand for group walks as well, and there will always be that customer who prefers to walk with a group and gets that social side of things.
Yeah, I think also to some degree we see it split by the destinations. Certainly, the majority of the European walks that we offer are self-guided, and you've got that kind of traveling at your own pace, the flexibility involved. But if we're taking groups to places like Morocco, over to Cuba, to really get the best out of the country, we just feel it's better to go with a guide who really knows the area and can get you to the best places.
Absolutely. We have actually just opened a brand new property down in Lulworth Cove on the Dorset coast. We completely refurbished an old mill house and are inviting people to stay on a self-guided basis, but still with the element of sociability in the evening, where they have a beautiful joint lounge in the downstairs with long communal tables. So in the evening they still get together and can share their experiences and the walks that they've done during the day, and we have seen that becoming more and more popular. But still,
the great thing about having a guide in a guided group is that it's not only that you get in a small group you get all the social mechanics that we were talking about just now, that Neil was talking about, but also you have a guide who knows the territory and can just highlight stuff that you probably wouldn't even have noticed unless you were running Google Field Trips. And can give you can tell you anecdotes and introduce you to locals and the like.
Alistair, I just have to say that I'm a self-guided fan, always having a light of freedom of being able to go alone, go at my pace, and I think that's one of the problems with groups, and I've heard other people talk about this, the concerns about if somebody's younger or quicker. It's all to do with notes as well. It's all to do, self-guided for me is a lot to do with the quality of directions and the quality of information, because I think you can have that element of having somebody with you if the directions are very good and the guide is very good. That's my preference. On the other hand, I've just been to Cape Verde, like they said, and that was with a guide, that was with a local guide, and in a situation like that, it would have been a complete waste had I gone self-guided, because we had guides that were taking us into the cousin's house for mint tea when it got too hot, or just stopping in a small copse and calling to a villager to bring down coffee, and they knew everybody along the route. And it was more than the history and the information, it was the interaction with people that in somewhere like Cape Verde that you just wouldn't get. So horses for courses, I think, but I think it depends on the quality of both guides with guided walks and directions and information with self-guided for me.
I've got a question here from Ron Marder, who says, "Good morning. Thanks for talking about guided and self-guided tours. I'd love to see more one-page documents. Presumably, I think Ron probably means itineraries there, and more apps for self-guided tours. And do any examples stand out?" And actually, I think I'd add to that. I mean, do any of you guys, do you have your own apps at all? But when you're doing self-guided tours now, are you saying to your clients, "Look, we've got this is the HF walking itineraries app, and you can just follow it"? No.
Well, we are certainly working on that. We are nearly there. We are working with a provider that is already out there that is going to personalise their app to HF Holidays, and will be out soon this summer. All of our walks and route notes are already available on our website, so anyone can download them and take them with them. Or in our country houses, we have got information points with very detailed route notes and maps that people can tap into and take with them, so all the information is there.
Yeah, we're always looking to find the best way of delivering the route notes and the directions to the customers, and obviously that changes over time. We are looking at the possibility of introducing an app, but it's one of these things that there's no point introducing an app just for the sake of having an app. It's got to be something that is actually really good for the customer. So it's in the pipeline, but it's a way off yet.
Yeah, I would agree with David. There's nothing really off the shelf at the moment, and that one of the challenges, I think, is that the technology is changing so fast that as a relatively smaller company, to invest a lot of money, and it's more the time of putting all the information into the app, and for the technology to change in a year or two, is a very difficult, fine balancing act. But it certainly would appear to be the way forward. Off the shelf at the moment, unfortunately, I don't feel there's a lot that really meets the user's needs.
I've got a question for you, Alistair, and for anybody else. And I don't use apps a lot walking because I found that there's a danger of draining my battery in the phone, and what happens when that happens? You know, I'm a bit old-fashioned that way, relying and finding a way using other notes and using the landscape. But when the battery, we've had situations where the battery's gone, and I think what happens if you're over-relying on an app in a situation like that?
Yeah.
You still need to have a map with you and a compass.
Yes, always a map and a compass. Amanda, what do you tell your clients?
Well, I'm also guided, so we always have a
yeah.
guide with us. But you do find that a lot of our customers will bring their own maps anyhow because they want to know exactly where they are. It's very important to them, you know.
Yeah. Sorry, can I just say something? I think one thing you've got to remember about any form of technology, any map, anything you use to help you guide you on a walk, is that it's only a historical record. You're not going to have a live satellite guiding you wherever you go. You've got to be able to read the landscape. You've got to make sensible decisions. We work a huge amount with GPS now. It's very reliable. It's hugely helpful to our tour leaders. But a tour leader sent me this morning a GPS that had been run over by a Land Rover while he was trying to help a client cross the road. Now, I'm going to use that as an example to all our leaders that do not rely on anything exclusively. Don't rely on your map. There are times when your GPS will save your life. There are times when your map will save your life. There are times when reading the landscape will save your life. You know, we're not talking life and death situations all the time, but leaders have to be flexible. And I think if we're relying on clients to use this information we provide them, it's a huge onus on us to update that information all the time. When I look at the InTravel brochure website and their holidays, which are very good holidays, they're very low-grade holidays in terms of the walking business. You can't afford to send clients over really big mountains. It's just too dangerous. The responsibility is absolutely huge. If you put a tour leader in there, then the tour leader, we train our tour leaders, constantly giving them feedback. I'm sure HF do the same, any guiding company. These are the ones who have to make the decisions. They're trained to make decisions, to evaluate things, to do the things that are best for the clients.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yes, the more adventurous it is, the more you need to have a guide there. I did actually sort of batch this up as a talk about both walking holidays and trekking. I'm not sure where do we think the definition comes? Where's the dividing line come? And does anybody consider themselves to be trekking specialists?
We're certainly not trekking specialists.
Sorry, carry on.
I'd quite happily say that the dividing line is, if we don't do it, then yeah, it's too difficult. It's trekking.
Isn't trekking where you have to make use of a hole in the ground now and again?
Yes, probably. That would be a good definition. Yeah, I'd go for that. I've got another question in from Ron. He says, great group of people. What are the trends? What will walking holidays look like in 2020? Are the expectations and demands of walking and travellers changing, or just simply the numbers growing?
God, I hope they're still the same, honestly, because that's the whole point of walking. It doesn't change.
I think I think probably what's happening is that people are moving more towards having walking as part of a holiday. So one day they may want to go walking, the next day they may walk a little bit, but there's a boat trip. Maybe they visit a vineyard, a garden. Walking is part of an overall holiday experience for people who enjoy being out of doors and don't want to spend all their time lying on a beach. Although beaches are very nice at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay, let's talk about the future as it relates to you guys specifically. I'm curious to know for this season, the more immediate future, what it is that you are highlighting, what new kind of products you have, and what new destinations and things like that. Why don't we start with Vladdy?
Right, we always look out for new destinations and new opportunities, and certainly talking about beach holidays, we just introduced a guided tour to Hawaii, where you would usually go on a very exotic holiday to stay on the beach, and completely sold out, and it is a huge seller for us in the worldwide market. then it's the usual in Europe. We are sort of bringing in new destinations, then giving them a rest for a couple of years, bringing them back in, because we've got very loyal group customer base, and they keep coming back to us. In the UK, we are tailoring a little bit our product towards the younger, unretired yet not retired market, and in most of our country houses we have switched the holiday departure dates for Fridays and Mondays, so we still can cater for the retired Monday to Friday breaks if they don't want to take a whole week's holiday, and then we can attract the younger to go and explore on country side break from Friday to Monday, and that is a later booking.
Oh, that's interesting. I guess markets, as you say, you can recycle or at least rotate particular markets or the emphasis on them. But there's also that there are always destinations that are coming and going anyway. I mean, when you think back, it wasn't well, a couple of decades ago maybe. There was a large chunk of the Balkans that really wasn't open to us, and now suddenly, in Bosnia and in Croatia, there are opportunities that we didn't have before. And there's always that kind of cycle of new places. Burma, for example, would be another. I just had a note from Michael Howarth, who I know to be a yachting journalist. He's come up with a definition for us of where that dividing line comes. He says, trekking is to walking what cruising is to sailing. So there you go.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it sort of makes sense, yeah. Michael, what about you guys? What are you promoting at the moment?
Well, I mean, things come and go. In this company, we used to have something called the G word. The G word was Germany. We found Germany very hard to sell. We even tried to pretend it was somewhere else to sell Germany. It's amazing what's happening now. We've got some of our most successful holidays are in Germany. We have one in the along the river, the Elbe, doing a circuit called the Malerweg, the painter circuit. We have one along the Mosel, the river as well, selling extremely well. And then there's one which we hope will appear to the fun side of people who enjoy walking, called the Bavarian Beer Garden Holiday, where the aim is to have we have two groups working at different levels, and the idea is that they will visit at least one beer garden a day, and they will all meet up at the end in a beer garden, because we always find, probably everyone else here finds, that not excessive consumption of alcohol, but certainly if you can get your group members to drink, they tend to enjoy the holiday more. So Germany is selling well. Greek islands, the easy trips to the Alps are selling extremely well. They sell out.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. Germany has actually taken off, hasn't it? In a way, I'm going to put it down to Katharina Fischer and all the troops at the German National Tourist Office. But for some reason, there's a lot of interest in Germany. One of the other ones is the Ruhr Trail, Ruhr Valley Trail. It's an industrial heritage trail, and that's proving incredibly attractive to Brits at the moment. So obviously Germany is flavour of the month.
It reminds me of just a little anecdote. When Khrushchev went to Germany in the 1950s, he stood in the middle of the Ruhr Valley surrounded by industry and smoke, and he said he'd never seen anything so beautiful in all his life.
Excellent. Neil, what about you guys? What are you?
Yeah, a bit of a mixed picture. Scotland's a mature destination for us, but it's performing extremely well this year, and we think partly that's because Scotland's got so much attention in the last year or so. So it seems to be in the forefront of people's minds. And the other, we're seeing a real shift to people looking at more adventurous destinations, self-guided or independent traveling. So Japan is selling very well for us, Vietnam, and we put a trip together in Greenland and Iceland. So those kind of slightly more adventurous destinations, we're showing a real uptick in people looking for that type of destination, either self-guided or as a privately guided trek. I think another thing that's going to be very interesting, we've obviously is going to be see what the take-up in Nepal is again, because we do offer a number of trekking and walking itineraries in Nepal, and it's been interesting since we've actually taken it off sale, obviously since the earthquake. But I think there's a real trend. We already had a number of inquiries for people looking to go back as soon as the Foreign Office changed its advice, because think they're seeing it as one of a way to make a positive impact on Nepal. So instead of donating money, they can go on holiday there, and as soon as it's safe to do so, it's going to be a very interesting destination because people want to contribute to the rebuilding. They don't want to necessarily be charitable, but they can really put their money where their mouth is by going on holiday there. And we're already getting some feedback back from our ground handlers that that it is very much, as far as they're concerned, open for business and will be certainly for the autumn trekking season. So I think that's going to be a really interesting emerging story of how that changes in the way tourism can make a positive impact to a disaster area.
Has anybody else detected that same trend? It actually opens up a thread that I was thinking about earlier on, and that was the whole issue of responsible tourism and to what extent walking holidays can really impact local communities in terms of using local guides and spending money in local areas. But I'm curious about Nepal. Has anybody else felt that urge from their customers to, if you've got product in Nepal, to go back?
I think one thing we've noticed is we started, I'm sure as other companies have done as well, started a Just Giving account or Virgin account for giving money to Nepal, and we raised a large amount of money very quickly. I'm one of the people who's lucky enough to have been to Nepal. It changed my life. I mean, I'll never see the world the same again after having visited Nepal, and I think other people feel very much the same. And they will indeed want to go back. I would love to go back someday, take my children back. It's the most astonishing country. I'd like to show them a country where the children don't have money, but they don't whine, which is what my kids do a lot of the time.
Yeah. And that question, are we there? Yes, is even more relevant.
They are there. They are there.
I think the real selling point for Nepal, when I've been talking to people about it, is if you've experienced mountains anywhere, if you've liked mountains, enjoyed mountains anywhere, Europe or the Atlas Mountains or wherever it might be, think of the tallest Alp you've ever seen, and then go up again another 30 degrees, and that's the Himalayas. It's a completely different league. Everybody's got product in the Himalayas, have you or not? Amanda, are you going to the Himalayas?
We've got a walking holiday in Bhutan.
Okay.
We haven't.
Okay.
I think we're the only people here who don't go that far. Yeah.
Surely you can self-guide over the Tarang La, isn't it? Surely. 17,000 feet?
Yeah, it's fine. As long as the batteries don't run flat.
Exactly.
You don't have a yak on your GPS.
Jack, have you been to the Himalayas?
I haven't. No. There's one place I would love to go, but not been there yet.
Okay. Well, when the ground has settled down a little bit, maybe it'll be your chance. Amanda, what are you talking to your customers about now? Because I think one of the things that you all enjoy is a fantastic kind of customer loyalty. Because when people have gone with you on one trip, they want to come back. So I'm wondering what you're saying to your guys now, what you're sending out in your customer newsletter.
We have customers that come with us 3 or 4 times a year, so yeah, we have to constantly think of new and exciting things that they would like as well to add to the itineraries. One of the ones we're very excited about this year is a trip to Colombia. It's going to be absolutely amazing. It's a very small group that's going because of the nature of the holiday. That's the way it's going to be. But yeah, very excited about that. We've got another one planned next year to southern China, which we've been working on for quite a while, so that's going to be very fun, exciting as well. A couple of new ones, Bailiwick of Guernsey, Sark and Herm, one of my favourite places in the world. I love going over there, and because I've only been with the company 18 months now, it's something that I want to share with the customers, and hopefully they'll enjoy that as well.
Those, the Colombia tour and the China tour, they're one-off specific dates, aren't they? I'm guessing.
All our tours are one-off specific dates. So we only run about 10 tours a year. We're a small company, but we put a lot of time and effort into the tours that we run.
And the itinerary for those would be what, 10 days, that kind of time?
10 to 14 days, sometimes a little bit longer. It depends how long the flight is. Sometimes it's nice, like with Colombia, we've got a couple of days relaxing on the beach at the end of it, just to wind down, because there is going to be some reasonably high altitude walking there, and a lot of birding on that holiday as well. So a lot of early starts.
Yeah, absolutely. Neil, your Japan trips, because I'm thinking the same thing. If you're dealing with long haul destinations, it's got to be for a reasonable period. So I'm guessing that the Japan, for example, trips, or the Vietnam ones, are the same sort of period, 14 days, that kind of thing.
No, we find a lot of people are adding on. So our Japan trips tend to be under a week because the routes are a bit shorter. But often people are just, they might be in Japan for a bigger Japan tour, but they're adding on a section of walking, so they're getting a mixed experience of a destination. So they might be going to Japan for 2 or 3 weeks, but they spend only 4 or 5 days walking with us. And we also have a very international client base, so we have a lot of clients coming from, say, the west coast of the States or Australia. And obviously that's a closer haul destination for them rather than thinking it from a European perspective. But yeah, we see an emerging trend. A lot of people looking to put walking as a part of a trip. So they'll book with us for the walking section for 4 or 5 days or up to a week, and they might be spending 2 weeks in Europe as a whole, or 2 weeks in Italy. So that's a mix and match type thing.
Okay, that makes sense. David, what about you? What are you telling your guys?
Well, this year, Canary Islands have always been popular for us. We've had
they're rubbish. I'm told they're rubbish.
we've had walks on Tenerife and La Gomera for several years. So this year we're adding in Gran Canaria and La Palma to the mix, and that seems to be going down quite well. Another one that's proved very popular this year is Montenegro. We've got a lot of repeat customers like everyone else here, and the people who've been to places like Croatia, Slovenia, Italy, and so on. For them, it's just a perfect kind of next destination to try out. And finally, the UK. We've got walking and cycling holidays in Dorset, and also up around Loch Ness, new for this year, which have been very well received. I'm actually heading down to Dorset next week to try the walk in there, so looking forward to that.
Brilliant. You might run into Steve Keenan, who's I think probably quite a few of you will recognise, was for years the travel editor at Times Online, and he now lives down in Dorset. I'll send you his address. You can knock on his door and get a cup of tea. Jack, good news about the Canary Islands then.
Yeah, fantastic walking destination. Still lots of it unexplored and still to be discovered.
What about you? What are your plans now in terms of destinations that you want to go and walk in and want to go and research?
Well, next up for me is Gran Canaria on Monday. Walking across the island, and then after that, Bavaria, Austria, and there's a few plans in the pipeline. So we tend not to work on trips more than 2 or 3 in advance because of workloads.
Interesting to hear these same destinations coming, reappearing. Germany, we were just talking about earlier as being a growth area, the Canary Islands. Interesting to hear the UK having a resurgence of interest, people staying. Are we talking about, for the most part, Amanda, you were talking about the UK, I think, weren't you, just now? And is this... and this short breaks, I mean, very, weekends, that kind of thing, or are we talking about longer holidays in the UK?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a walking holiday to the Isles of Scilly that goes away in about 3 weeks' time, and that was completely fully booked as soon as we offered it. And there's a lot of existing customers, they like to go away together, so it's a long weekend there. That's going to be a very gentle, easy walking holiday, mainly, I think, a lot of eating as well. But yeah, and then Guernsey, we've planned that because we know that our customers don't always want to go on the long haul destinations with us. There's only so many long haul flights you can do a year or want to do a year. So yeah.
Let's wrap up. I just wanted to ask each of you, unless you don't have one. Usually, everybody's got one part of your program, one particular tour, one particular experience that you just think, oh, that's perfect. If I wanted somebody to just sample this one tour, I'm wondering what it would be. I can see Neil reacting there, so perhaps we'll. Sorry, David, reacting there. Perhaps we'll.
You're going to me first. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Tour de Mont Blanc for me is just fabulous. Just one of my favorite trips I've ever done, and I think you can't beat. Tour de Mont Blanc is my #1 recommendation.
Okay. For landscape or just overall experience, or?
It's a bit of everything. It's a lot of achievement. The landscape's great. You have a mix of cultures and languages on the way. What makes a trip for me often is the camaraderie and the people you meet on the trail. And I think Tour de Mont Blanc is one of those ones. It's a nice balance from being busy enough to meet lots of people, but not so busy that you feel you're on Sucky Hall Street on a Saturday, as we say in Glasgow.
David, what about you?
I think in terms of the typical headwater tour, I would say something like Chateau of the Loire. Basically, really nice countryside, great French cuisine, wonderful chateaux and historic houses to walk through. It really kind of sums up, the best bits for a headwater holiday. Just take it easy and soak up the culture.
Vladdy, that sounds very similar to the kind of thing that you do, not least because I was referring earlier to that photograph on the post that I put up, which was a bunch of people in the middle of France.
Absolutely.
On one of your tours.
Oh, France is one of our best sellers, I have to say. It is a staple in our brochure. But personally, I'd probably go a little bit further and check out the Yellowstone, the Northern America, some of the Canadian wilderness. I really love pine forests, and don't want to come across a brown bear, but I wouldn't mind spotting one. And back home, Lake District is my favourite. I've just come back. We've been part of the Keswick Mountain Festival, and it was fantastic to see the different generations of people enjoying all sorts of outdoor pursuits and meeting people like reindeers and some very impressive fell runners up there. So Lake District, and then some of the proper wilderness and national parks around the world.
Yeah, I think Wyoming's a good choice. The Yellowstone, the Tetons, I think, are probably the most beautiful mountains in the world. I mean, there are taller mountains, there are all kinds of, but I think the most beautiful mountains in the world are the Tetons.
Yes, I totally agree.
Okay. Who haven't I asked? Michael, have you got a top tip, one particular destination?
I'd like to agree with Vladdy, and I think we're planning our family holiday in those areas next year. But this year, we're going to Wengen in Switzerland. And that for me has everything. That has the most spectacular mountains, the most wonderful flowers, a car-free resort, fantastic cable cars, trains, just mind-blowing views. Just you can lie in a field, as I have done, and just stare at the was it the north face of the Eiger for a couple of hours. Just never get bored. It's amazing.
Eye candy.
Yeah. It leaves me speechless.
Who haven't I asked? Amanda, did I ask you?
No. So one of the holidays that I would recommend, probably that gives off a good flavour of Langdale. We've got a walking holiday in South Africa. Takes us up to Franschhoek. We spend quite a lot of time in the vineyards, wine tasting, walking through the valley, which is very green and lush. And you can hire bikes and cycle between the wineries as well, which I've done before. And the quality of the food on that holiday is excellent. I think the quality of the food in South Africa is very good, and people are very friendly, and it's a very beautiful walking environment, and it's not quite what people expect. I think it's a lovely holiday.
Good move. Okay. Jack, that leaves you as your top tip to send walkers.
My favourite walking holiday or walking destination is usually the last one I've been to. So Cape Verde is. I've got to say, I found it exceptional walking. I found it beautiful. I found it very friendly, very safe. It was not the islands I expected, and I think that's got, in terms of an introduction to Africa, that is some wonderful, wonderful walking, and quite a special place for me.
Excellent. All right. Okay, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me today. It's been really interesting, and I have to say, I'm, torn between a whole range of destinations. I'd love to go and walk in. So thank you for whetting my appetite and anybody who is watching. Next week, I don't have a firm plan, but I'm looking at the idea of talking about museums around the world, and I will let you know about that on the blog page. Directly, as we used to say down in Devon, directly. So do join me then, and meanwhile, from everybody else here, thank you very much for participating.
Thank you, Alistair.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thanks,
Bye.